Bernini did not sculpt a monster. Every artist before him had. For 2,000 years, Medusa appeared in art the same way: severed head, dead eyes, serpents frozen mid-strike. A trophy, a warning, the face of something that had already been defeated. Bernini looked at that tradition and made a different decision. He sculpted the moment before, the moment no one had ever shown, the moment Medusa realized what was happening to her. This is not a sculpture of a monster. It is a sculpture of a woman who just became one. The bust stands in the Palazzo dei Conservatori of the Capitoline Museums in Rome. It is Carrara marble, approximately life-size, 50 centimeters tall. A woman's face, classically beautiful, symmetrical, with delicate features. Her mouth is open, not in a roar, in something closer to a gasp, the sound a person makes when they understand something they cannot undo. Her hair is mid-transformation. Some strands are still hair. Others have already become serpents, coiling outward, not yet fully formed. The skin of her face does not look like stone. It looks like skin in the process of becoming stone, caught between two states, neither one completed. The face that turns men to stone is turning to stone itself. Look at the surface of the marble. The Capitoline Museum's own restoration records, published after a recent conservation effort directed by Elena Bianca di Gioia, document that Bernini worked the skin of the face and the serpents to two completely different finishes, deliberately. The flesh is smooth, polished to suggest softness. The snakes are rougher, textured, scaled. Your eye registers two different materials in the same block of stone. But here is what that requires technically. Bernini had to carve the transition between them, the exact point where soft skin ends and scaled stone begins. That boundary, the line where a human face stops being human, is not a detail. It is the entire sculpture, and it exists in a space roughly 3 centimeters wide. 3 centimeters of marble that contain the whole myth. The Capitoline Museums described the sculpture this way in their official documentation. Medusa sees herself in an imaginary mirror and is caught in the moment when she realizes the atrocious trick of fate. Before our very eyes, her soft flesh fades away, the writhing snakes in her hair freeze, and her expression of pain and anguish are forever captured in marble. That word, atrocious, appears in the museum's own text, not in a critic's review, in the institution's official description of what they are displaying. The Capitoline Museums are calling what Bernini carved an atrocity. To understand why Bernini inverted the myth, you have to understand when he made this. Art historian Stephen F. Ostro, in his analysis of the Capitoline Medusa, published through Franco Mormando's research archive, documents that the sculpture was almost certainly created between 1644 and 1648, during the pontificate of Innocent X, the same pope who had ordered the demolition of Bernini's bell tower at St. Peter's and effectively removed him from the papal court. Bernini was, for the second time in a decade, a celebrated artist with no patron and no commission from the institution that had defined his entire career. The Capitoline Museum's own restoration notes make this connection explicit. The Medusa was created at one of the most critical moments of his career, when his fame had been temporarily eclipsed. a man who had spent his life turning patrons into legends in marble, now spent turning to an ancient myth about transformation, about looking at yourself and seeing something you did not intend to become. Whether that was coincidence or self-portrait is the question the sculpture does not answer. There is a poem embedded in this sculpture, literally. The Capitoline Museum's document that Bernini's Medusa is a direct response to a verse by the Italian poet Giambattista Marino. The relevant lines translate roughly as, "I do not know if a mortal chisel sculpted me, or whether, looking at myself in clear glass, the very sight of myself made me so." Marino's poem is written in Medusa's own voice. She is looking at her reflection and cannot determine whether she was carved by a sculptor or petrified by her own gaze. Bernini read that poem and made it three-dimensional, which means the sculpture you are looking at is not just a depiction of Medusa. It is Medusa's own question, rendered in the material the question is about. A woman wondering if she is stone, carved from stone, so that the answer is always yes and always ambiguous at the same time. Here is where the sculpture becomes two completely different objects. The first reading follows the myth. Medusa was a monster. Whatever she felt in the moment of transformation does not change what she was or what she did. Bernini gave her a beautiful face and an expression of suffering to make the image more technically complex, but the subject is still the creature that killed men with her eyes. The sympathy is an effect of the craft, not an argument about the myth. The second reading follows the poem. Marino's Medusa does not know if she was made or if she made herself. She is not a monster contemplating her nature. She is a person, or something close to one, trapped in a material that will not let her finish the thought. If you accept the first reading, you are looking at the most technically sophisticated depiction of evil in the history of marble. If you accept the second, you are looking at Bernini's most personal sculpture, a self-portrait of a man mid-transformation, caught between what he was and what circumstances were making him, rendered in the face of a creature who had no say in what she became. The sculpture has been in the same room of the Capitoline Museums since 1731, nearly 300 years in one place, asking the same question. Marino wrote, "I do not know if a mortal chisel sculpted me, or whether looking at myself made me so." Bernini answered by not answering. He carved the moment of not knowing, and left it there. Drop your reading in the comments. I read every one.